Oh, this is steep. Oh, God. Okay, ready to double tap. Oh, yeah. Look at the extra amps on the double tap. Oh, my helmet. I'm wearing the wrong helmet. Oh, yes. Just got legit air. Guys, it's Ginger on Wheels here. We have got the Wolf King GTR. This scooter is absolutely crazy. It's the only one I've ever ridden that actually goes over 65 miles an hour. Let's roll the intro and check this thing out. So this is it, the Kaabo Wolf King GTR. There are a whole host of changes on this scooter we're gonna go over through the course of this video. So can you tell? Can you tell by looking at it that the back has a 12-inch deck clearance and 11 inches on the front? Slightly higher in the back. On the GT Pro, we had an 8.5-inch deck clearance, so up 3 inches. So the scooter's 3 inches higher, and the GT Pro had an 8.5-inch kickstand. The GTR has a 9.5-inch kickstand. So you get this insane lean angle when the thing is parked, just really far leaned over that way. The kickstand needs to be longer, but I really love that they got rid of the little ankle shredder. The old Wolf Warriors used to have this little protrusion right here that I think was for kicking down the kickstand, but really when you're walking the scooter, it would just absolutely shred your Achilles tendon. So that's gone, thank you. The handlebars, the deck to bar height on this scooter is actually shorter than the GT Pro. This is your lights, turn signals, and horn. This is the exact same as the GT Pro. This is our TFT display here. Again, exact same as the GT Pro, except you see this little ESP thing here. Maybe you can. That stands for electronic skid protection. And this is one of 2 scooters I've ever ridden with that feature. The front motor will actually stop spinning when you burn out. So if you pin the throttle on any hyper scooter, the tires just start burning out wildly. On this one, it'll throttle the input to the front motor so that it'll have just enough power right before it starts to burn out, but it won't actually burn out. So you get a lot faster acceleration off the line. According to the display on that top speed run, we went 69 miles per hour, but according to Draggy, we went 60. So this thing does read very generously, which is strange because this thing thinks it has 12-inch tires in the settings, and I measured the tires, they're actually 12 inches. So it actually is just the math in the computer that's wrong. It's not like an exaggerated spec. But if you lower the tire size to 11.5 inches instead of 12, then the speed is accurate on here. This is our new trigger throttle. This works in tandem with the TFT display here. They rolled these out in limited batches on the GT Pro, but now they are stock on the GTR, as you can see. I prefer trigger now. We went all the way through the motions. We started with the trigger. We said maybe the thumb will be better. We did the thumb throttle for a while. We tried these ones, well, up and down. We tried the in and out ones, and now we're back to the finger, because I think we all realized for off-roading, you need your thumb wrap around the bar. It's just, that's the way it is. So we got the trigger on there. This suspension piece in the front is actually a lot longer than the GT Pro or any of the other Wolf series. I don't know that anyone else has mentioned this, but this has adjustable compression, and you get 1 inch more travel than you do with any of the other Wolves, even with the GT Pro. But you get a lot more front suspension. It is so much more comfortable. This thing's actually capable of doing real off-roading now because we have a coil suspension in the back. Thank you. Adjustable rebound coil suspension. And if you lift the scooter up on a stand, you don't need a spanner wrench to turn this preload. You can just turn this preload nut with your bare hands when the scooter is off the ground and adjust the preload of the spring. It's really nice. You adjust the preload once and then you adjust the rebound depending on which terrain you're riding on. These are our new 12-inch around, 4-inch wide tires. I'm a huge fan of these tires. I really, really like them. They ride really nice on and off road. Good grip. They don't spin out because we got the new traction control. Good cornering. And I feel like the 4-inch upgrade was necessary with the scooter and the extra weight. This thing's 137 pounds now, so we're getting into the real vehicle category, and we needed wider tires. One thing that we also needed though was upgraded brakes, and we didn't get it. We still only have the 160 millimeter zoom brakes. We really need like quad piston Magura brakes on here or something, because coming from a full stop, 1 time is okay, but 2 times the brakes get mushy. Like you can pull them as hard as they'll go. They don't touch the bar. They'll just pull to like right here, but you can pull as hard as you want and the scooter won't stop. It'll just slowly slow down. So when you lose stopping power like that on a machine this fast and heavy, it is scary business. I'm probably going to upgrade these to 160 millimeter floating rotors, and hopefully that gives me better cooling and stopping power. We'll see though. This controller compartment is completely separate from the battery, which is here. And we saw this on the GT Pro, but this one is completely revamped. I took this apart the other day to check it out, because that's what I do. I just like to poke around inside $4,000 scooters, and it's completely waterproofed, and they have like really good wire routing and cable management inside there. I think the big difference between this scooter and the other ones that makes it go that much faster, not the sport mode, but the connection between the motors and the controllers. They were using bullet connectors before, which work, but they're not great. And now the motor wires are physically screwed onto the controller. So I don't know for a fact, but I feel like that increased conductivity of the like pure metal on metal being screwed on, the power transfer through the connection is insane. Here's our removable battery. So this thing has a code that you can set. You spin it to unlock, and then the battery pulls out. It has a connector on the bottom. Probably turn the scooter off first. So the battery has a connector on the bottom, and no one's mentioned this yet, not even VORO Motors, but when you pull the battery out of the bottom, there's a button. You can push the button, and when you're charging it, which you can plug the charger into the top where you normally would plug it in, it actually shows a battery level readout right here. There's a little button, so you can check how full the battery is while you're charging it in your office or your house or whatever. And when it's full, bring it back out to your scooter, just chuck it in. And like Jimmy Chang and Andrew mentioned, when the thing is locked into place, it does still have a bit of play, and the actual physical latch holding it in is really skinny. So if someone wanted to, if they were so compelled, they could easily just rip the battery out of the scooter. Keep that in mind. If you're leaving it outside in the parking lot or something at work, locked up like with all the other bicycles, Microsoft has a nice like bike cage in their parking garage people lock stuff up in. I would still take the battery inside with me. Another thing this scooter has that's maybe worth mentioning is this little hook. This is for folding the scooter. When the scooter folds down, this hook latches in right there, and you can actually lift it up, like connect it as one piece now. I'm not sure how helpful that really is for anybody. If you're lifting the scooter, you're not in a great place in your life anyways. So I guess the hook makes a bad situation slightly better, but when the scooter is folded and the hook is latched, you can see there's this little spot right here where the paint from this piece takes off the paint from this piece. So there's just gonna be a little paint missing on every single Wolf King GTR because of bad R&D. Good job. The display, you do still need to be very careful of the display when you fold the scooter, you guys. This is a very thin display. That's a very thick metal bar, and if you fold the scooter too quickly, it'll break for sure. I did that on my Varla Eagle 1 2.0, but yeah, if you just move the display forward with your hands, then you're fine. Just make sure it's out of the way before you fold the scooter, or you're gonna be asking for a new one. The scooter does have dual charge ports. They're in the top, and these are not the same GX16-3 charge ports we're used to. These are a new, I don't know what it's called. I think it's SP13. If anybody knows what that connection is called, please tell me. But if they are SP13, they're capable of 15 amps each, which is exciting. We might be able to charge the scooter at 1C, depending on how fast the BMS will allow. But once I get a charger that fits in there, we'll see how fast the scooter will allow charge. It's really hot, you guys, and I'm sweating my nuts off, so I'm gonna hop on this thing and ride. We can talk about all this while we're moving. What I'm mostly excited to do is test out this traction control feature off-road. Because on pavement, when the traction control is engaged, you hit the throttle, give it the beans, the tire will still spin for like a half a second before the traction control kicks on. So I want to see how effective that actually is off-road. Test, test, test. Oh yeah, before we do that, one cool thing I discovered, the scooter has a walk mode. When you first turn it on, it's in P, just as a safety feature so you don't immediately send it as soon as the scooter turns on. But if you double tap the mode button, a little walking man appears, and you can walk the scooter and hold the throttle, and it just goes like 2.5 miles an hour. So it's 130 pounds, but now I can walk it up hills and stuff without looking like an idiot or breaking a sweat. When you're ready to move and you want the walking man to go away, you just push the speed mode button into any other speed mode and he goes away and you ride away. That's really cool. I like the walking feature. The Segway had that too, and I feel like Kaabo might have taken that idea, but the Segway walking mode was actually way too fast. It was like 4 or 5 miles an hour. No one does that. All right, let's test out this traction control off-road. Put it in single motor. Let's start single motor, maybe mode 3. All right, off-roading on the Wolf. Back to my OG roots. Ooh, that suspension getting beat up. We're gonna need to, let's see, suspension's too fast, so I want it to go slower. So I'm gonna turn this suspension piece to the plus side, and plus means we're closing the valve and we're letting less oil through with our springs, and that means we're gonna have more resistance when we hit jumps and things. I believe these are set up exactly the same, so you wanna make sure that you turn the left as much as you turn the right. Okay, try this. You generally want fast compression off-roading, but that was just too fast. It's bottoming right out. Oh my gosh, this front suspension is so much nicer. I'm glad the bars are shorter now too. This is right back to where I like it, in the sweet spot. Oh, that traction control is sweet. The traction control does not work on braking. It has an ABS feature which kind of vibrates the electronic brakes, but that's a joke, no one uses that. Still not a very valid function, unfortunately. Oh, this is steep. Oh God. Oh, that front suspension, I love it. I love it. It's bad when it hits things, but it's really good when it lands. When you get air and you land, it's like a pillow. But when it hits things head on, it's just still a big junk. Wow, that's cool. Ginger on wheels approved off-road for comfort. Let's see how it does for performance. Let's put it in dual motor mode, and we're gonna try to go up the hill in dual motor mode. And if you know anything about scooters, we're gonna be spinning out that front tire like a mad person. So let's see how well this traction control actually works. Ready? I'm gonna floor it. It works! We're not spinning out the front tire. The traction control actually works. My God. This is really cool. Putting all the power to the ground that it possibly can without spinning out the front tire and making you lose control. Oh my God, yes! This is the best off-road scooter ever, dude. Are you kidding me right now? How is this even real? Wow. So many other scooters are gonna be coming out with this feature soon. This is a total game changer. The off-road traction control, man. I can go so much faster with so much more confidence off-road with the traction control and dual motor. It's wild. Yeah, love it. 100% love it. I think speed mode 4, off-roading, dual motor mode, is the sweet spot. Can you just hear the tire just gently scuffing off the dirt? When it makes contact with the dirt, it'll just kind of go chit-chit-chit-chit and scuff a little bit and then stop spinning so you can regain traction next time it touches the ground. It's no Tesla as far as traction control, but it is great. It is great. We're gonna be doing a lot more off-roading in this video, I think. Oh, yes. Now I really am unstoppable. I can actually kind of go anywhere I want to do. I don't need to do a road. I'm turning around. We're doing more off-road. That was so fun. This scooter has so much power. Even at 30 miles an hour, I can let off the throttle and then push it again, and it has a huge surge of power. It's not like a slow ramp up. One complaint I've got with Kaabo still, and I don't know if it's the Zoom brakes particularly or Kaabo, like the way they've designed the regen braking, but the regen will kick on like a second after I hit the brakes. And I don't get why. I can't think of any logical reason why they would do that on purpose. So it just seems kind of like a flaw. But when I hit the brakes, it goes disc brakes, e-brake. And it doesn't make sense. Why doesn't the e-brake engage at the same time as the disc brake? Now in my head, I have to hit the brakes and then plan on an unexpected surge of braking power in X amount of seconds. That's weird. Don't like that. I do not like the regen brakes. They can do a much better job with that, and they should. The scooter does have a lot of really, really good changes, and I love it. But there are still a few things that are borderline offensive that they haven't changed yet. Like the fenders. Who are we joking that this fender is actually gonna do anything at all? Look at that thing. It's like, I think it's 8 or 9 inches off the tire. So water and mud is just gonna come spraying off this galore, get all over the suspension. It's just gonna be a whole, it's not even a thing. And the front, come on. Like, who designed that? You might as well just put like a little teeny number 2 pencil on top here and just call that good. Is that a fender? That's not a fender, dude. Water can be spraying all up on this thing, be spraying all back here under the scooter again, just like all the other Wolves. Like, just try. Put a fender that attaches here and here and hovers right over the tire. Why don't you do that? It's not hard. I guess it is. Harder than redesigning your controller entirely and adding extra big motors, but yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm just gonna ride it. Yeah, speed mode 4 and this loose gravel stuff, traction control takes a little longer to catch up. Listen. That's a good half second of burnout still. Speed mode 3 is much more manageable, but you're not getting the same off the line torque, obviously, and out of the rear motor, I mean. If you are an off-road enthusiast though, one of the cool things about this scooter, you could go into the speed mode for speed mode 3 and say, hey, I want all the torque in the rear motor, very minimal in the front motor, then put it in speed mode 3 with the traction control on. Like, the fact that you can program the power output in the front and rear motors in all the speed modes independently, plus the traction control, this thing is next level. There's no scooter that comes close right now. Nami, maybe, but no. Just no. The amount of abuse I put my scooters through when I off-road them, I feel like a Nami would just break in half. This thing's probably as fast as the Nami Bernie though. And the Dualtron X, and probably the Bronco 11 Extreme. This thing is up there in the super scooter category. But you see how fast we're going right now? Cruising casually at 16 miles an hour because we have this nice smooth sine wave controller with no dead spot in the throttle, none whatsoever. As soon as I touch the throttle, I get power response. So huge props to Kaabo. I don't know if they redesigned that entirely themselves or if that's just a new thing in the scooter market, but sine wave with the trigger throttle, 0 delay. Let's rip this, shall we? Oh, the suspension. I know what this trail feels like. I do this trail almost every day on tons of scooters. This trail can be abusive, but this suspension is just so nice. How's it gonna do in the rut down here? Didn't even feel it. Didn't even feel it. That extra inch of pillow in the front is all it took. It looks dorky. I'm totally on board with it. It looks absolutely ridiculous from afar, but when you're standing on it, it sinks down about a ½ inch, and then when you ride it, you realize why they raised it up. The suspension is just marvelous. Oh, we off-roading today, baby. Today's an off-road day. Let's go. There's a really steep hill up here that only few scooters can make it up, and I have 100% confidence this thing's gonna blast up the hill. Maybe even in single motor mode. It's so quiet too. That's the best part. I don't hear anything. Just the tires going and my annoying voice. Listen. How cool is that? Okay, here's the hill. We're in speed mode 3. The sign says steep grade. Quarter throttle. That's not even a hill anymore. It's a slope. I love this thing so much. This is the off-road spaceship. It's a spaceship because it's like out of this world. And it's off-road because it's like one of the only, oh my God, that was so comfortable. That little jump thingy, I do that all the time. It's just making everything so much easier. I think it really helps me going on the same trails over and over on all these different scooters because I can feel the subtle differences between the suspension and the bar height and all that. Because I know what it feels like on a good scooter to go down that trail. And this is a great scooter. I love this thing. I'm not quitting yet. We're going into the park. I love off-roading this thing so much. I'm gonna be doing a night off-road video tonight. I've got all the lights on this thing. I've got two 2000 lumen fire lights, one 3600 lumen fire light, and then the Wolf Warrior lights. So we're lit up like a freaking Christmas tree. We're gonna rip through here at night tonight. So stay tuned, subscribe for the next video. We're gonna do some crazy off-roading in here with all the bats when they come out. Speaking of crazy off-roading though, let's do that now. Let's do that now. Oh yes, just got legit air. And when I landed, I heard the front suspension just go pshh. Hydraulic coil suspension in the front is legit. I abused this thing last night too pretty hard when I was testing the scooter out, so I knew what to say for this review. And I slammed that front suspension many a time. It sat in my living room all night and there were no leaks, so that was my main thing. I knew this front suspension had adjustable compression, which is new, and I was really worried they were gonna botch it and it was gonna leak. This traction control off-road and loose dirt and gravel is so amazing. I can't wait till fall. We're gonna have the loose leaves and wet moss and stuff. Love off-roading this thing so much. So much. But we can't do it forever because it's literally exhausting me. Wow, I love this thing. Up until now, I've been sort of collecting all the scooters I get to review because each one has its own little use case, you know? Like I've got the Mantis for off-roading, or the Eagle One Pro for short commutes, or the 9bot for a little run to 7-Eleven, my Wolf GT if I want to do like a long ride to Seattle and do the Saturday night ride. But I feel like with this scooter, I can kind of just get rid of a lot of those now. This thing isn't portable, so I might keep the 9bot Max, But every other scooter, this thing just fills the niche. It's perfect. Checks all the boxes for me. I'm absolutely in love with the scooter. It's great. The only thing I do not like, if I personally could change one thing though, I'm not a huge fan of the removable battery. I would sacrifice that extra 5 or 10 pounds of weight and 2 or 3 inches of space and make the battery 40 amp hours non-removable. That's what I would do. Also, I don't like the fact that they swapped the cells. They're not using LG batteries anymore. There's some other type of cells. They're like an in-house self-contained made Kaabo battery. So it's not an LG cell anymore, not an LG pack, which it's not gonna catch on fire or anything. It's got a good BMS in it and it's all enclosed, but it's gonna have a little more voltage sag. We might not get as many charge cycles out of it before we start seeing degradation. And more importantly, we got lower capacity now. This thing has a lower capacity than the GT Pro. So if you're in the market for a longer range scooter, I think the GT Pro might win, but we have yet to range test this thing with the new motor and controller setup. So who knows? With the way the motor wires are now screwed directly into the controller, like bolted on, maybe that'll lead to less heat buildup and we'll get better range. We're gonna go down this road so fast right now. Oh man, regen brakes at 65. That's a little scary. This thing is nuts. God. Every other scooter at 55 miles an hour, if you're half throttling it and you pull the throttle, it'll slowly start to accelerate again. This thing will actually like pull. There's a good amount of power in reserve, even at really high speed. The amount of power blasting out of this battery at top speed is just unreal. When you feel it, like right now I'm not double tapped. Now I am. What the heck? There's like a whole extra 20 miles an hour in there. Oh! So here's something. This is a pretty important memo. It's not going to apply to everyone, only the people that want to do insanely high top speeds like all the time. The controller, as I'm sure we all know, pulls 100 amps out of the battery at full speed in speed mode 5. When you put it in sport mode though, it'll pull 110 amps. They said 160 originally, now they're saying 110. That's cool. The problem is their battery that they've had, you know, they built their little in-house battery, whatever BMS they used, and they even say this themselves in the manual, is limited to 100 amps. So when you get down into the lower voltages, like if I'm at 72 volts and I do a top speed run in sport mode, I'm pulling over 100 amps. And you can actually trip the BMS on the battery and it cuts power at top speed. If you're at 50% battery and you're going 40 miles an hour and you suddenly flip it into sport mode and hit the beans, you're gonna suddenly draw over 100 amps. The scooter will speed up to about 60 miles an hour and then it'll cut power for a second, just like 1 or 2 seconds at a time until the amps goes back down. The BMS thinks it's all good and then it turns power back on. But the BMS is throttling the power output at top speed, and that is a huge flaw. That is the one flaw I don't like, but because I'm not a lunatic riding this thing at 65 miles an hour all the time, that's borderline irrelevant. Like top speed, I feel like I can safely go without putting my life in danger, and just having 911 on speed dial is about 55 on a scooter with 12-inch tires. That being said, if you're buying this thing for like a track machine or you just want to race a scooter, don't buy this one because you'll only be able to do it at top full charge. I just went around the corner and used my turn signal and realized I never even mentioned the lights on this thing. We've got our super blacked out tail light that still nobody can see. There is a brake light in there, I promise. We've got red runner lights on the side when you turn the brakes on. That's nice. I'm gonna hit the brake handle, the lights turn red. Turn the lights on. We've got our classic Kaabo lights. These things are brighter than a monkey. 2 little lights in the front here, and then there's runner lights on the side that turn blue when the lights are on, but when you hold the brakes, they turn pink, or purple, I guess, but still. When I asked them about it, they said, oh yeah, it's no big deal. It's just the blue and the red on at the same time. But I guess it's no big deal. It's just pink. The most insane, deadly scooter of all time just has pink underglow lights, but okay. We do have blinkers too, right here. Little blinker setup. The light turns on. You got a runner light that blinks, and then our tail light blinks as well back here. But it's so dim. And then you have blinkers here on the side as well. And of course, blinks on both sides. You can turn both blinkers on, so you're rocking sort of like a hazard look if you want to. And I like that it keeps these lights on, so you can just glance down and see if your turn signal's on. I do wish, like the Segway GT2, I wish they had the blinkers right here too. That was really cool. I like that. So for the front headlights, we've got the two 2000 watt firelights, 3200 lumen firelight V2, and then the Kaabo headlights. And at night, this thing is just abusively bright. Even cars are flashing their brights at me, but you know what? I don't care. At least they see me. I might have to do a speed run on this scooter at night, man. I don't know where I'm gonna get a 65-mile-an-hour stretch of road in the middle of the day. Let's try this one. Ready to draggy it? 3, 2, 1, go! Oh my God, you gotta lean over the front so far. Jesus Christ, why? Okay, ready to double tap? Oh yeah, look at the extra amps on the double tap. Oh, my helmet, I'm wearing the wrong helmet. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my, I almost died. Well, everybody, that was it. The ride on the Kaabo Wolf King GTR. This is the best off-road scooter in the world. If you don't believe me, go to VORO Motors website, use the code Ginger on wheels, get 50 bucks off, buy one for yourself and ride it. I do ride motorcycles. I've got my motorcycle endorsement, and I would argue this thing is more fun than a dirt bike on the trails. Don't believe me? Go buy one for yourself. Or just subscribe to the channel and catch the next videos where we're gonna be absolutely abusing this thing off-road. All right, I'll see you then.